Tony, lovely to have you on again. Nice to catch up with you over the Christmas break. Have you cracked open one of the wines yet?
No, I haven't. It's still sitting in their box, but nothing much has happened. I've been having a really relaxing break, as I hope many New Zealanders have, and trying to chill a wee bit away from the politics that's quite intense in Wellington at times.
Yes, I understand that. You're headed for central Otago, where your family live. Can I just ask you, is there a difference between, if you like, central Otago, and Wellington in ambience, or is it all much the same?
Oh no, no, they're very different places, and Central Otago, well, in every respect, the weather is different, the pace is different, and even the style of lifestyle is a little. It's very. It's more relaxed and more open and honest. I think people can have a conversation much more easily. In Wellington, especially being a councillor, there's sort of this, what side are you on, tends to come into most conversations when you're talking to people, and that gets in the road of having some straightforward stuff, or even just having some chats that aren't about politics.
Mm.
But I mean, I enjoy doing this job. Don't get me wrong, but they're different. They're very different places, and I can see why many New Zealanders like to go and base themselves down there where you are.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the other big difference here is everybody's got a job too, which I suppose most of Wellington, I guess, would be employed. I mean, it's not a high unemployment area, really, is it?
No, but I think because the cost of living is quite high in Wellington, if you don't have a job, it's pretty high stress. You've still got to make the rent. It's the rent is much higher, and it's a little more stressed in Wellington. And of course, we've done it pretty hard. We have an unusual amount of unemployed or underemployed. Often people, I know people who can't get past part-time jobs. They can't get that full-time job and a secure permanent job. So there are some people doing it tough in Wellington. I know New Zealand as a whole as well. But I'm lucky enough to have a steady salary at least until October, and so I've sort of used that to try and chill over the summer break.
No, good on you. Listen, Homegrown, which was, as I said, a New Zealand music festival, I think it was one of the highlights of the Wellington entertainment calendar, is leaving Wellington. Do you know why?
I've only read some stuff about it, but I understand it's because they want to make it a bit bigger, and there's no more space, is what they're saying, in the venue space where they set it up. They've got room for, I think up to 5 stages, but they want to do more, and that's why they're looking at. And I also, it's reading the comments and such like. I think the convener might be based out of Hamilton or somewhere like that, and it might be that it's a bit tricky to run it remotely. So it might be heading north as so many other industries are going. But I don't think it's because it's not successful. I mean, in some respects, it's probably, they want to get more people even. And it's established its name, right throughout as a place to go. And so this is going to be the last one, apparently.
Yeah, no, it's the last thing you need to start your new year. Listen, I also see that your mayor, Tori Whanau, has announced that she's focused on continuing the momentum this year. She's obviously going to be standing again for the mayoralty. She said that you've made enormous strides as a council over the past 2 years, and that she is going to emphasise Wellington's ageing water infrastructure, taking action on climate change and providing more affordable housing as her top priorities for 2025. Are those priorities appropriate, Tony?
No, I don't agree with the mayor. I think the mayor's continuing the agenda that was, relevant in 2021, but times have definitely changed, and the city is doing it hard, and yet she's determined to double down on more cycleways. She wants to ram the Golden Mile project in, even though the businesses are screaming that they're not going to survive the construction disruption. And I think, I've seen some really good comments. One of the comments that stuck in my mind is that yes, we've got momentum and it's all downhill.
She also says she's going to decarbonise the swimming pool network by switching from gas heating to renewable electricity. Is that more expensive?
Well, it's certainly the running costs are lower, but it's going to cost. It's another big $20 million investment at a time when we've maxed out the credit card. And it's something that, look, we can continue on for another few years. It's not a priority. This is what gets me. I mean, it's not that these things aren't good things to do, but when you're really short of money, when your customers or your ratepayers are having to pay for all this with 20% rates increases, something that's actually not mentioned in her press release, is that we're facing 20% rates increase, and this is in a city that's in recession. It's a city where people are unemployed, as I said before, and we can't afford it. And yet she's not listening. She doesn't listen. She just wants to do what the Green Party agenda says needs to be done.
She also says that businesses will be actively engaged throughout the project of revitalising Courtenay Place and the Golden Mile. And she said they will significantly benefit from the influx of customers that will be attracted to the area once the revitalisation is complete. You obviously think that's bollocks as well.
Well, I mean, businesses say they're not going to be there. I mean, they're going to get wiped out. I mean, how are you going to run a restaurant? And look, it's not just that Courtenay Place has got one restaurant. It's got restaurant and restaurant and restaurant and restaurant and restaurants. A whole street of restaurants and bars. A lot of them are iconic. A lot of them have been there for decades, and they've been very successful. And they're going to be wiped out because they're going to be nowhere to get access to it. If you get there, there'll be, walking through disrupted pavement. A lot of people who support these restaurants are more elderly, and so they can't walk very far. And asking them to park 400 metres away, it's not going to work. People are going to go somewhere else. I mean, look out Petone. They've got a increasingly
Petone's looking great. Yeah.
Restaurant thing. They know not to wipe out all the car parks.
Yeah.
But Tory has got it in her head that what was cooked up by Let's Get Wellington moving all those years ago is the right thing to do, and we're going to spend over $100 million on doing it.
Incredible. Listen, the other thing that strikes me is that Wellington elected her. They had much more experienced operatives that they could have gone to 2 years ago. In October, the elections will be held again. It is a painfully woke place, Wellington, at the best of times, particularly inner city Wellington. Is there a possibility that she gets re-elected again?
I think there's always a possibility with politics. I don't really know, but all the messages I get, and look, I'm in opposition. I mean, I got elected, partly because of the direction the city was going in. So I'm not necessarily moving in the Green Party circles, which are quite large in Wellington, apparently. Is she going to get re-elected? It depends who else stands, ultimately. She got elected, I think, in the first place because people looked at the other two candidates, Andy Foster, who tried to run on his record, and people looked at his record and said, that's a rubbish record. And Paul Eagle, of course, who sort of, I think, stuffed up his campaign to a certain extent, and he could have won, but it didn't prove to be a good candidate. Look, the challenge for Tory, though, is that she's now taken the place of Andy. She's now going to, she's not the bright new penny that's going to turn up and say, look, I'm new, I'm got a new direction, I've got new energy, I've got, and the reality is she has no new direction. She's simply just continued what was there before. Now she's the incumbent, and she's going to run on her record. And look, it's up to Wellingtonians to look at that record and say, actually, we're either in the right direction or the wrong direction. It's going to be very interesting. But I certainly think she's destroying the city piece by cut.